Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and anybody else who's joining us here today. Thank you for being here. We are, of course, the Sheffield United Way, and this is our Premier League prediction show. Thank you very much for bearing with me last week while I was away on holiday. I got Nick in to sub for me, and, well, we'll get onto that in a minute. But for now, let's welcome my guest for this week. Jimmy, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. I have started a new job this week. I'm 4 days in, and so far it's going all right. I've not been fired yet. You know, we keep ticking over.
Bonus, mate. So yeah, I wanted to hear all about it, but I also wanted to hear about your holiday to Birmingham.
Yeah, so we went to Droitwich Spa, a lovely place.
Nice.
We go away to take the dog, and there's somebody there who runs a fantastic little B&B where you can take your dog. They've got acres and acres of land, just nice, relaxing walks, chilling out. So yeah, very nice, but not what you'd expect when you hear that somebody's going on holiday. It's true.
So how many times? Because I'm a fan of the channel, as you know. I watched your pod with Nick, and so this is the second time you've now mentioned that holiday destination. I obviously give you the layup. How many times do you have to mention it till they give you a free holiday? How many times did she say? Is that what we're doing? Just squeeze it in?
Yeah, when I spoke to her, I think she said 5 times, and then I'll get it through.
Cool.
So
I'll
what
ask
we'll
you again
do
next
is,
week.
yeah, we'll keep teeing it up next few weeks.
Cool.
And I know how much crossover is between the Sheffield United Way channel and people who visit the Hayloft in Droitwich Spa.
I'm always bumping into Sheffield United Way fans when I'm there. It's all the time. So
we're going to be filling the place with bookings.
I know the link now. I know the link.
So it's going well, though. So last week, obviously, Nick debuted for me. He's deputised for you before. He had an absolute shocker for me last week. He picked up 4 points. You, once again, annihilated him, picking up 9 points. We are a long way behind you now, Jim. You must be feeling fairly confident.
I got a couple of nice clips out of last week's from Nick saying he was the Ramble was beating the Sheffield United Way. I'm trying to get me little victories wherever I can. So I'll clip all these up, put it into one big pile. No, to be honest, I didn't think much to your replacement last week. I'm glad to have the workhorse of the Sheffield United Way back, and I'm sure you'll give me much more of a fight than your
That is
colleague.
The plan. Of course, that is the plan. We did have some viewers who did quite well as well last week. Thank you again to Shaz in our comments who goes through and picks these out for us. The winner, though, last week, and the only person who I think has earned himself a shout out was King Liam. 11 points, our only double points player. Beat both Nick, beat Jimmy. A fantastic week from him. So good work, Liam. Nicely done.
Mate. Yeah, well done.
Now, I will address something that has come up in the comments already. It's only right that I do so. We did put this out with a title of bottom 3 teams still without a win, and this is not correct. I thought I had caught it and changed it in time so that it read the bottom 2 teams are still without a win, but of course Burnley did pick up a win Tuesday night.
Don't worry about Johan the average. Nobody's bothered about what Johan has to say. We're not bothered.
Indeed. And I see that you're getting nice shout outs as well. You can do the lot. Yeah.
Love a bit of Joe. See? Joe's a top man.
Who says that we don't let them big you up on this channel?
Thanks, mate. Right. Appreciate it.
Let's get into it then, Jim. Let's have a look. First game of the weekend. Luton against Spurs. Now, both of us clearly feel as though this is going to be a fairly comfortable Spurs win. Why do you think that it's only going to be 2 rather than a bigger score?
Well, I was second to post my results this week, so I knew your scores before I put mine in. I just think you've gone a little bit heavy. I'm not saying they're not capable of a result like this, because I think Tottenham, when they turn it on, probably could and destroy a couple of teams, and Luton, us, and a couple of others will probably be in that conversation. But I think 4's a little strong. I could see 3 maybe, like Joe says. Joe, my favourite commenter of the day. I can see it. But Luton are no walkovers. We know that. And people lazily write them off as that if they haven't seen them. But they will put up a fight against anybody. A little bit like you might have said about Sheffield United up until a couple of weeks ago. So people will beat Luton this season more often than not, but they will go down with a fight. I can't see a 0-4. I just can't see it. But Spurs under Postecoglou going well. It's not out of the question, but I think a comfortable 2-0 away win is everybody, like, Spurs will go away happy, and I see that more as a realistic outcome personally. Why have you gone so heavy?
Yeah, I might have got carried away. I might have got caught up in the Ange mania that's going on in the Premier League at the minute.
Maybe.
But, I've gone back through some of their games. They've got a minimum of 2 goals in every game so far this season. They're really running hot against their XG. They've both scored more and conceded less than expected. And I think I just fancy them at the moment with the role that they're on. When you get lucky, and let's be honest, Spurs got very, very lucky last weekend. When you get lucky like that, it's a momentum builder. You're scoring last-minute winners. They did it against us. They did it against Liverpool. The decisions are going your way. That just rolls on for me. And I think Spurs are going to really get a lot of momentum behind them before it breaks. And I think, unfortunately, teams playing them in the next couple of weeks might just struggle a little bit with that.
I get that. And I think the only argument I'd have in terms of your XG is if they're outperforming their XG, then that usually that levels itself out at some stage, doesn't it? So we'll see, though, mate. We'll see. I think we're both very confident in a Spurs win, aren't we? So
indeed.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another game where I think we're both fairly confident in our outcomes. I know, Jim, that you like to take against Burnley as soon as you can. I don't know if you want to break down why you think Chelsea will have them.
Because Burnley are rubbish, and Chelsea are not as rubbish. So no, in all seriousness, Chelsea, we know the quality that Chelsea have got, but they've had a terrible start to the season. I think that victory at the weekend will probably just be the spark that just pulls them away. I'm not saying they're going to push for top 4 this season. I think they've left it, they've had such a terrible start, but they'll probably try and get as close to those European spots as they can. Yeah. And I just think they'll have too much for Burnley, to be honest. I think, Vinny Company trying to play like Barcelona and, ending up like Sheffield FC sometimes in that defence. So I can't see anything else but a Chelsea win. I've had two results so far that I'm very confident on, and neither of them are my bankers. So I'm a lot more confident this week than I was last, put it that way. So
yeah, you can tell.
Thoughts, mate?
Can tell that you've got the lead on when I know what your banker is this week. I know that you're resting on your laurels just a little bit. But this one's interesting for me. I think I liked the look of Chelsea, actually. I think Broja makes a difference to them when he's playing up front. I do like him. I thought he was good at Southampton a couple of years back. Obviously, the injury last season was really difficult for him, but I do like the look of him. So I think if he's going to start playing more for them, he might be a goal scorer. And it's nice to see Mudryk get a goal. He's been a bit of a figure of fun since he joined Chelsea, but he has got obviously a lot about him. He is a talented player. So for him to get a goal, I think maybe their attack could just start to click. And if it does, like you say, I can see them pushing up a little bit. I don't think they're going to be world beaters, but I do think they'll be in and around that conversation for that Europa League, Conference League type slot.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. Yeah, they've left it too late for a serious challenge this season, I think, just to even get going. That's how the margins are at this level, isn't it? Certainly for top teams like those. But I think they'll have a late surge now and start to pick up results.
No, completely agree. So from the top, a team that wants to look up, we look to the bottom. Bournemouth, obviously the team other than United that haven't yet got a win on the board. New manager through the summer. Might be feeling a little bit hairy, to be honest, now that you've seen Luton win, now that you've seen Burnley win. Obviously, Everton got a win a couple of weeks ago, and I do think they're going to get another one. I will throw some stats at you. We talked about this recently, where I think these do pass the eye test when you watch Everton, but they've created the 10th most XG in the division. They've only conceded the 7th most XG in the division. They are a better team than the results that they're getting, and that to me means that one of two things will happen. Their performances will drop, and they'll start to deserve the defeats that they're getting because their heads have gone and they've got the negative momentum, or their results will improve and it's going to match their performances. And I think games like Bournemouth at home is where you'll start to see the results will improve and it'll match the performances that they've been putting in. Why do you think Bournemouth could go there and get what might be seen as a positive result?
Yeah, I can completely see, backing up by the logic that you've given there, mate, why you've gone for the result you have. I wasn't aware of their XG or anything of that nature. I purely go by the eye test, as you know. And indeed. I think Bournemouth, a little bit like us, are getting to a point where they need a result. And I think the desperation I think it's going to be a little bit like our game against Everton at Bramall Lane, maybe a little bit hectic, but ultimately they'll cancel each other out. I've nothing against Everton. My dad worked for Everton for years and years and years. So as a club, I like them. But this season, we need them closer to. If they're, if that's one more team to pull away from us, then we're going to struggle, aren't we? Let's be right. So I maybe it's more in hope than my heart ruling my head, I suppose, to a degree. But I think Bournemouth have enough about them to nick a point here, and I've just got to hope that Everton don't continue to pick up and stay down in the mire with the Uniteds and the Lutons and the terrible sides like Burnley. So fingers crossed.
No, I completely agree. Very much want to see Everton's performances drop and then start to deserve the results that they've been getting, because obviously we do need them in this relegation battle, and they're a team we've got to be looking to catch. And of course, that brings us quite nicely onto United and the shame that I have in the predictions that I've had to go with.
How could you?
I know. Let me break down why, and then you can do the rallying cry for why I'm completely out of my depth. But look, I am quite worried about United, because I think, first of all, the manner of the defeat against Newcastle a couple of weeks ago felt like it had knocked the stuffing out of us last weekend. I thought West Ham beat us without really getting out of first gear. And I think without us changing something, whether that's the system, whether it's the players, we need to do something to freshen us up. Because at the minute, we're 20th for XG created, 20th for XG conceded. If you don't want to go by XG, we're 20th for actual goals conceded. We're 19th on the passing stats for how many accurate passes we're playing. And Wes has made the most saves of any keeper in the league. That, to me, just sums up a team that, quite frankly, deserve to be in the position that they're in at the moment. It is really grim. Now, there is positives. Fulham do give teams a chance. They're not creating many chances themselves. I think they're 18th for XG, 18th for goals scored, 18th for XG conceded. So if we are going to get a win, Fulham are maybe a team to target. But at the minute, I just don't see how United do it. And you're going to tell me how United will do it.
We ain't got long enough, mate. We have not got long enough. But I think we have to have a bit of, I put out a video about it, a bit of perspective on the fine margins. And I talked about, and I'd worked all the table out. And if we'd have not, and we did, but if we'd not conceded the Chris Wood goal in the last minute, if we'd not, if Pickford don't pull out a worldie against McBurney, and if we hold on against Spurs, then we're out of the relegation zone at the minute, sat on 7 points. So it's these sliding doors moments in games that define your season. And the only thing I think we've got to be concerned about, which I talked about in the ramble, was developing a loser's mentality. And I agree with you. And I'm worried in terms of the way that we turned up or didn't really against West Ham. I think a lot of people are trying to cling on to the fact that we had a better second half. I would argue that West Ham had done their business and then sat back and didn't really have to do anything from that point on. The XG you throw at me is worrying. I think it depends how you listen. That was damning. You can't. There's no way I can spin that as a positive. What I would say is things like Wes has saved the most goals in the league. He's also conceded the most goals in the league. So it's not like we're relying on Wes. Wes has faced the most shots, bar none, to any goalkeeper and conceded the most goals by a stretch. So that sort of narrative, and I'm not saying you were spinning that, makes you weren't, but that sort of narrative that thank God for Wes. Well, Dean Henderson might have saved 6 of them. I'm not, and this is just me throwing stuff out there. So it's difficult with the squad that we've got. I think we need a change in terms of formation, and that's what I've pitched for today. I would like to see us go 4 at the back. We play a 3-5-2 because of John Egan, because John Egan can't play in a 4. So I'm comfortable with George Baldock. Possibly not Bogle, which it likely will be, being a right back. But I think we try it. I think we try something different. I think we go a Nell and Trusty in the middle. And I'd like to see us pack out the midfield a little bit more. Then we can get McAtee in behind Archer and McBurney. So I want us to try something different because I think we need a spark. Whatever happens, I think a lot of the players will see this as a must win just to get our season going. Otherwise, we might as well pack up now. If we get beat at Fulham, then I honestly think Eki will get sacked, because how do you recover from that? Will be on 1 point. It's likely that the ceiling's already starting to be built above our heads in terms of teams might be on 6 points, 7 points outside relegation zone then. We've played Fulham, we've played Crystal Palace, we've played Forest. I just think we have to get a result here. We have to. And I think we've got it in us to get a result. So, again, is it head? Is it heart? I don't know. I don't think a draw is good enough. I think we will go for it. And I honestly think we'll win. I think we'll win at weekend. And I think that will send us into the international break with a renewed hope. And if we don't, if it goes the other way, if the sliding doors moment comes again and Fulham are losing in the 96th minute and then get another 10 added on and turn it around, then I don't think Eki will survive it, whether that's right or wrong. And if you follow the ramble, you'll know what my thoughts are on that. But if he gets a win, I think it potentially changes the whole thing. And we're on 4 points and we're maybe 2 away from safety and it's game on for season. So huge game, huge game. But I'm backing United. Not just I want to, because I think we will.
No, I hope you're right. And I loved listening to that. I hope that you've got that spot on, that United are going to turn up. We're going to put in a performance. We're going to win this game. I do agree. I'd be tempted to change that system. Oh, and he's put his hand up because he's forgot something.
No, I'm just going to ask you, who's your captain?
Depends who plays.
No,
obviously,
if Norwood plays, you're going to put Norwood as captain, aren't you?
Yeah. If he done, I'm picking McBurney.
Yeah, McBurney's got to be captain. If Baldock's fit, Baldock's my captain. But I think Eki will go for McBurney anyway. So, but if Norwood plays, he'll probably wear armband, won't he? So,
I think
comments
if
who we
Norwood
want to see.
Norwood. Otherwise,
Comments who do we want as captain? I want McBurney. I think it'll be Norwood. And if Baldock's fit, he top trumps everybody. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, mate.
Take it on the chin. Let's see which one we go for. Right, let's move on from United, go into another team in crisis. Manchester United. Now, again, looking through, they've lost 5 of the last 7. They've lost 3 of the last 4 at home. Before that run even started, they were 2-0 down to Forest. I know they turned that around, but easy as alt, they could have lost 4 out of 5 at home so far this season. And we talked there, you talked about Heke and what the chances are. I do think that if I'm right and Man U lose this, Ten Hag doesn't see it through the transfer window. I think that performances on the pitch have obviously just completely fallen apart. They're not picking up results. They're not playing particularly well. Lost 2 from 2 in the Champions League. And to be honest with you, with how he's handled some of their off-field issues, I'm not going to have a great deal of sympathy for him as and when that axe is swung. And for me, I think Brentford just capitalised. I just don't think Man U are in a good place at all. You clearly think that Man U might spaz one here.
Yeah, I think they're a basket case at the minute, that club, to be honest. But they are a huge football club. And we talked about it before, where sometimes I just think that aura of a big club plays a part in some of these games, particularly when they need a result. And I'm not confident enough in Brentford. If it had been, they are probably one of 5 sides that I wouldn't back. Whereas another 14, I would probably back them to go and get something from Old Trafford. But I think when they need to get a result, Man U, I think they will. I think it's interesting to hear your comments about Ten Hag. I haven't been that invested in him in terms of how much pressure he's under. But you think about Harry, who we love, but they can't shift because he's on 200 grand a week. And I understand people not wanting to pay him that. And I understand him not accepting a half a wage cut because he's earned that contract and they've been daft enough to give him it. I mean, the way they've handled the 3, we shouldn't even mention Greenwood's name, so that's last time we'll talk about him. Anthony, loads of black clouds over him at minute and all this sort of stuff. But for me, the disappointing one is Sancho. If he's struggling mentally, then you deal with it behind closed doors. You don't come out and sort of say he needs to do this, he needs to do that. And none of us really know what's going on. But, I just think there's some things that are better left unsaid. I know you have a duty to the fans. And as fans, we appreciate when we're informed about certain things. But I don't think anybody would begrudge a little bit of discretion when it comes to people's mental health. So, yeah, poor from him, I think, on the Sancho one, particularly from me. But other than that, I think on the pitch, that they're more than good enough to get it together. Some of the players they haven't been playing great. But again, I point to Brentford losing and missing Tony. I think they will start to slide a little bit, Brentford. I think they've been riding a wave of momentum, but I'm not. I know Wissa's decent, but I'm not convinced by him at the moment. So yeah, Man U to turn it around.
No, I see it. Yeah, I'm not against it. I don't want it personally because everyone knows my agenda against Man U. But yeah, let's see where that one plays out. So up next, we've got Palace and Notts Forest. Now, I've got very minimal notes on this. Nothing exciting to say. Two mid-table teams. I think they'll both be comfortable this year. I think they'll draw. Jimmy, what do you think?
I think you bang on, to be honest. And I don't think it'll be 0-0. I think it's over-egging it to go 2-2. So I think if I have to split them, I'd rather Palace win. So
Yeah.
that's the reason for my result. I think you're bang on. It's most likely to be that. I think Forest are slightly better at the minute, but not by much. And the equaliser being that Palace are at home. So yeah, can't really pick them. I've pipped for a Palace because you had first dibs on results, and I should have got mine in earlier.
Always the best way to get first dibs on results, apart from the fact that I'm getting battered. Right, let's have a look at the next game. I think this next one is game of the weekend, Brighton versus Liverpool. Now, controversial this one because it's difficult to pick. Look, let's just get it out there, cover it off immediately. Liverpool was screwed last week. Let's just get that out of the way. They can't have any arguments, personally, I don't think, about the red cards, but the offside goal, everyone knows it's ridiculous. Fine. But Jones and Jota are rightly suspended, and I think that has a big impact on Liverpool. I think it's true that last year, maybe the season before, at least in the last 18 months, Salah and Jota are the players who have got the most combined goals and assists when playing together. They're setting each other up. They're their key men in terms of going forward. So without Jota, I think he's a big loss. Similarly, we saw towards the end of last season that when Curtis Jones came into the Liverpool team, that's when they started to put together this unbeaten run, which lasted until Tottenham at the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes in to replace Jones, who has become quite key. Now, I think it's going to be Endo, and that does make sense. They're going to try and be tighter. They're not going to want to give Brighton the opportunity to run through them. But Brighton are the team who've scored the most goals in the league so far this season, and I really fancy them. I know they're not in great form. They've had two shocking results in the league, losing to Chelsea and Villa. They're not doing particularly well tonight, or at least they weren't before we went live. But I just fancy him to turn up in this game. I think it was last season. I think they were 3-3 with Liverpool. And so I just think they turn it on in this kind of game. And Liverpool like chaos, so do Brighton. And I think this one's just going to suit them. Why do you think Liverpool are going to take it?
I agree with you, mate. I think it's possibly game of the weekend. This, I think it could be a real barnstormer. There's not they don't really care about defending. Let's just attack and score more than them. So it's always it's geared up to be a really entertaining watch. I could have gone Brighton, and I've gone against my own principles really in picking against Brighton because I think this is the first time I've gone against them. But it is the shocking result. And if listen. 8-0 scared me off, and it completely threw me out. When we lost 8-0, I was like, "Whoa, what is happening?" I felt like somebody had smacked me right back of the head. But it's done it again to Brighton. I've lost a bit of confidence in Brighton now because of that 6-1 it finished. It's like
6-1.
How? And yes, they're anomalies. I get that, but how do you bounce back like straight away against a side like Liverpool? I'd fancy them if it were Wolves, Luton, us, unfortunately, but. I think this is a tough test, and I think Liverpool smell blood in terms of the title race as well. City have dropped a couple of points, get that ridiculous result against Wolves, and I think Liverpool see it as an opportunity, and there's no better time to face Brighton than now. I know that I still think they're massively underrated, and I think they'll finish high up in the table, Brighton, but I think Liverpool are probably catching them at the right time, but it would not surprise me at all if your result came in either, mate. So I'm just looking forward to watching it, if I'm honest. So.
Yeah, same. I agree. I just want to watch it. I think it's going to be a great game. I actually think this next one's also going to be a great game. West Ham against Newcastle, because I think these are two very good teams. I think they're both going to be up there. I think they're both going to be fighting in and around those European places. We talked about teams that Chelsea are going to be trying to catch. I think these are two teams, certainly, that they'll be thinking, Jesus, we've got to get above them if we're going to have any chance getting into Europe this season. But I think they're going to cancel each other out this weekend. And the main thing is, to be honest, you talked about the low that Brighton are coming off after last weekend. This, for me, is all about the high that Newcastle are going to be coming down from, because that result against PSG is insane. And so how do you react to that, to then be going away to West Ham at the weekend? I just think it's just difficult for them to come down from such a high. And that's why I think they'll just not get the job done. But I think they're a cracking team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think West Ham, very solid against us, very professional, polished, did what they needed to do. Excuse me. But having said that, I think had we had more quality and a little bit more belief, probably more than anything else, we could have got something from West Ham. I contrast that against Newcastle coming to Bramall Lane. I tell you what, we were awful. Let's get this out of the way. I'm not saying we didn't lay it on a plate for them. They were unbelievable. Their attack. Sometimes I was talking to a couple of Newcastle fans about it, and yes, we were awful, but they were saying that's one of the best displays they've ever seen from the Newcastle United side. And I just think they're not going to do that every week. They're not. Certainly not going to win 8-0 every week, but they're not going to turn up to those levels every week. But we know they've got it in the locker, so it'll be rare that particularly after them beating PSG, it'll be rare that I'll back against Newcastle at the moment in terms of the run of form that they're on. That's nothing against West Ham. I think they're a good, solid Premier League side. No danger this season at all. And, if they push for Europe, then fair play to them. I'm not as against them as a lot of United fans are. I'm more your modern day rivalries like Burgers Burnley are more what I'm interested in. But yeah, Newcastle, just pip it for me. I think it's about levels, and I don't think Newcastle have quite got away from West Ham at the moment, but they obviously will do.
But they're on the way,
with the finances behind them. So yeah, run of momentum. I think I know what you're saying in terms of they may taper off and that may affect them. I think they carry on that momentum and they ride it to a positive result into international break.
No, I can certainly see it. Like you say, Newcastle are obviously the best team we've played so far. I know we've played City, but I mean, on the day, Newcastle were insanely good. So I certainly, again, another game that I hope I get the opportunity to watch. I don't know which ones are actually on telly this weekend, but if it's this one, I'd enjoy it just as much. So we've also got a derby, which actually, now I think about it, is probably the one they've picked for the telly. And I'm just backing Villa. Wolves got a fantastic result last week. We can't go against that. They beat Man City. And I'm not predicting many teams are going to do that this year. So they've got to take a lot of credit, a lot of confidence coming out of that. But I really like Villa at the minute. They've battered Brighton. They've got the joint second most goals in the league so far this season. And my God, they just look so good when it all clicks. They're another team that I think are going to be up there looking at Europe. And so I just think this will be a comfortable away win.
Agreed, mate. Agreed completely. And it's only the fact that it's a derby and Wolves themselves are coming off an unbelievable result that I think they'll give it a good go. I think there's the chance it goes end to end. Wolves aren't a bad footballing side. I just don't think they've got the goals in the team. But Villa are a different level to them, to be fair. And like you say, they smashed Brighton last week. And I get these freak results happen every now and again, but who goes and bosses Brighton like that? Not many teams. So yeah, I don't see past Villa in this one, but I think Wolves could make a go of it because it's a local derby, isn't it? Like you said. So I give them a sniff of making a game of it, but ultimately Villa will walk away with points. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I just think Villa have just got too much for them at the end of the day. Yep. And that brings us to last game of the weekend, probably the biggest game of the weekend. We've talked about great games on Sunday. This is going to be a great game on Sunday. Yes. Arsenal against Manchester City. And I am plumping for a big win for Arsenal because, look, still unbeaten so far this season. I know they've had a shocker last night in the Champions League, but in the Premier League, still unbeaten. I think that generally speaking, they've started to actually look good as well. I think at the start of the year, they were winning, weren't looking great. They've just started winning and looking pretty good as well. I think that red flag from this week will probably just set them off. It'll remind them they've got to keep the standards up, and they'll really want to have a go at a City team who just look a little bit vulnerable at the minute. For me, it's the loss of Rodri that has massively affected him. Yes. They've lost both games that he's not played against Newcastle and Wolves. And so he's got one more game to go. He's not going to play this weekend. And for me, that means that Arsenal probably come into this with a little bit, the favourites for me. I think they're going to win the game. And I think that'll leave City playing catch up like they had to last year.
Yeah, it's and to be fair, they deserve everything they've got, City, because what a terrible, terrible foul by Rodri to get sent off. Thoughts again to Morgan Gibbs-White as he recovers from that terrible, terrible assault. But I see what you're saying, mate. It's a brave call. You're right in so much as I think Arsenal have been very professional this season in the league, and they've got the results when they needed to. And I think we spoke about that on a previous video. But I do question the mentality when pressed, when put under real pressure by a quality side. I think they're a little bit jittery. They're a little bit. I think these are a side they will fear. One of very few sides that they won't be super confident in coming up against, and sort of in their own ability to control the game. And I think City will see this as will be a bit of a wounded animal. See this as an opportunity to put right last weekend. I can't see Pep accepting 2 losses on the bounce because, wow, he's just an absolute winner, isn't he? So, and I'd be interested to hear when last time City did lose 2 in league on bounce, because I can't think it'll be. So, come on, Statman. Come on, what's going on? How have I got you there?
If only I knew. I don't know. I don't know.
You've backed them to lose twice on the spin, and we haven't got a stat on it. Unbelievable. I knew Hal was the workhorse of the Sheffield United way. Right, okay. So yeah.
He'll definitely know as well. What's annoying is I half expect him in chat telling me. Yeah, that's what's annoying.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he'll be Googling it now, to be fair to him.
I'll get him in.
But how can you back against Man City? I know Wolves pipped them last week in an absolute shocker of a result. Desmond for me. I don't think City will turn up and take all the points, but I think they'll be a much improved side. And is Rodri back then, I assume? He's usually a 3-game ban, though, isn't it, for a straight red?
Yeah, but he missed Newcastle in Cup.
Oh, yeah, of course he did. Yeah, so, yeah, he's back. So they're going to be at full strength pretty much, aren't they? So, yeah, tough one for Arsenal. I can't see him winning it, if I'm honest, mate.
Just to be clear, this is his 3rd game. So he's done Newcastle, Wolves. They both lost. Then this one's his last game. He's back after the international break.
Right, okay. Okay, so throwing me false stats now. Okay, so I appreciate that. So no Rodri, which makes it more interesting, to be honest, because he is such a difference maker. And I think, yeah, I still can't see Arsenal beating him, though. We'll see. It'll be a good, interesting game to watch. I think tactically it'll be really good. I'm really intrigued.
Your man in chat, absolute hero, coming up for us again.
Joey.
Not lost 2 back-to-back since 2016. That is mad.
Why are all his points poor this year, guys? Can you put that in comments as well? Do we know? He's backing a team to lose 2 on bounce that haven't done that since 2016. So
I'm a visionary, mate.
You are, mate. You are.
It.
To be honest, it could come in away at Arsenal. How many teams go to Arsenal and not lose? But yeah, I can't see it with City.
No, not an easy one. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed that, Jim. So, one last thing for us both to cover off. Of course, I will let you go first and tell everybody what your banker is for this weekend.
My banker this week is Sheffield United. Come on, you Blades. Don't let me down. We're all in on United, like we all are anyway. Yeah, everything on red and white. That's what we're
love it. And I love to hear the confidence. I hope you're right. And 100% make me look stupid. We can clip this for your channel, Jim. And you can say, look at this. You didn't even believe in us when I did, when you get double points for this banker.
Rambles on top again.
There you go. You've perfected it for when we need to do that screen grab. I, of course, am going a little bit safer. I would say I'm going for Spurs as my banker. Feels like the obvious result of the weekend, in all honesty. Mate, yeah. And I'm very, very confident in it. So, Jim, there we go. Another week in the bank. We'll be back next week to talk about how we've done, how we are looking for next week's fixtures. It's an international break. It'll be the week after. Look at that.
Will we be back next week?
Time away.
Yeah, you are. Don't do it. Don't do it. Go back to Birmingham.
So we'll not be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks after the international break, when you need us to do a Premier League prediction. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. If you want to play along, please do get in the comments of the YouTube video. Shaz, our resident hero, will be going through
the Shaz bat.
Well done, Shaz. And everybody loves Shaz. Thank you very much for joining us here today. I've really enjoyed myself, and I hope you have as well. Thanks for joining me, Jim.
Cheers, mate. See you soon. Cheers, guys.
See you later, everyone.